City leaders in southern China are denying allegations of coronavirus racism, insisting that foreigners are not being discriminated against. Africans living in Guangzhou say that they're being kicked out of their homes and face harassment as health workers step up testing for imported infections. The African Union, Nigeria and Ghana are calling on the Chinese government to address concerns. Professor Keith Richburg is the director of the Journalism and Media Studies Centre at the University of Hong Kong. He says there has been discrimination against Africans living in China for some time now.
Ever since Xi Jinping announced that the virus was essentially contained in China and that they could start reopening businesses and reopening factories, the numbers have been going up, but they've been blaming all of those new numbers, those new cases and the new deaths in China on what they call imported cases, meaning that they've contained it in China, but people coming back into the country are bringing it along. It smacks a bit of xenophobia to me, because number one, most of these so-called imported cases are Chinese nationals who left at Chinese New Year and are just now returning or returning from schools abroad, et cetera. So these aren't foreigners, these are Chinese who are bringing in with the virus. And secondly, they've been given really no statistics to prove that the real numbers of people coming in with the virus are actually foreigners at all. But that's kind of the narrative or the storyline that they'd like to say, is that all of these new cases are all from foreigners. They've even restricted foreign diplomats from coming back into Beijing, for example. China has always had this kind of complex relationship with Africa, whereas officially, they see the African countries as brothers. Lately, China has put a lot of development money into Africa. They built the African Union headquarters. They built the railroad from Nairobi to Mombasa. But and as a consequence of these tens of thousands or millions of Chinese living in Africa, you also have a lot of African traders, African students who have gone over to China. And so officially, on an official level, there's this kind of feeling of fraternity. On the ground level, people to people, the Chinese simply don't like them very much. They're basically there's a lot of racism. I've been to Guangzhou. I've been to that area that they call Little Africa, or more derogatorily, they call it Chocolate City. The Africans tell me they feel discriminated against by the Chinese.